Welcome to part 1 of our 4-part series on the fall of the Roman Empire. Please subscribe to be ready for the next part, which is to be released soon. The Roman Empire in the 200 AD period was having a really tough time. It was a period marked by instability and uncertainty. The peaceful and prosperous times, known as the Pax Romana, were long gone. The golden age of stability and growth had faded into history. Instead, the empire was facing lots of problems, both inside and outside its borders, that threatened to tear it apart. Internal strife and external threats were a constant challenge. This period, called the crisis of the 3rd century, was a time of chaos and big changes. The empire was in a state of flux, with power constantly shifting. There were wars all the time, the economy was a mess, and politicians were constantly scheming. Corruption and power struggles were rampant. The empire was so big, and that became a problem. Managing such vast territories was a logistical nightmare. It was really hard to control such a large area, and ambitious generals who wanted to be emperor started fighting each other. These power struggles further weakened the empire. These guys, often declared emperor by their soldiers, fought brutal battles that used up the empire's resources and soldiers. The constant warfare drained the empire's strength. And to make things even worse, tribes outside the empire saw how weak it was and started attacking more often. The borders were under constant threat. Groups like the Franks, Alemanni, Goths and Persians attacked Roman territory, making the empire's problems even worse. These invasions added to the chaos. All these problems had a terrible effect. The social fabric of the empire was unraveling. The empire's economy was ruined because of inflation, fake money, and disrupted trade routes. Economic stability was a distant memory. The famous Roman legions, weakened by constant fighting and fewer soldiers, struggled to stop the invaders. Their legendary strength was waning. It seemed like Roman society itself was falling apart. The once mighty empire was on the brink of collapse, with its people losing hope. During this time of crisis and despair, a man named Diocletian rose to power. He came from a humble family in Dalmatia and was incredibly ambitious. Diocletian's climb through the Roman army showed how good he was at fighting and politics. He got to the top by defeating his rivals. He was skilled and ruthless, outsmarting and defeating his opponents until he became emperor in 284 AD. His rise to power meant the end of the chaos and the start of a new chapter in Roman history. Diocletian saw how much trouble the empire was in and started making big changes to restore order and stability. He knew that the empire was too big for one person to rule effectively. He knew he had to be bold and decisive if the empire was going to survive. Diocletian was practical, not a dreamer. He didn't care about traditions if it meant saving the empire. His changes were drastic, but they were necessary. It was a last attempt to save what was left of Roman power and prestige. Diocletian made a huge decision that changed Roman history forever. His actions would set the stage for the future of Europe and the Mediterranean. In 285 AD, he split the Roman Empire in two, the Western Roman Empire and the Eastern Roman Empire. This monumental decision was not made lightly. This was a big deal, a huge change from how things had always been. And he did it because it was so hard to rule such a large and troubled empire. The sheer size and diversity of the empire made governance a daunting task. Diocletian knew the empire was too big and complicated for one person. He understood that a single ruler could not effectively manage the vast territories and diverse populations. It took too long to send messages and react to emergencies, especially between Rome and the faraway eastern borders. Communication delays could mean the difference between victory and defeat. Plus, the empire was being attacked from all sides, so it needed a better defense. Barbarian invasions were a constant threat, and the borders needed to be fortified. By dividing the empire, Diocletian wanted to make it easier to manage and defend. He believed that two emperors could respond more swiftly to crises. Each half would have its own emperor in charge of its administration, defense, and stability. This division of power was meant to bring more focus and efficiency to governance. Diocletian thought this would allow the emperors to focus on their own problems. Each ruler could address the unique challenges of their respective regions. The Western Roman Empire, with its capital in Milan, included Britain, Gaul, Spain, and North Africa. These regions were crucial for the empire's economy and military strength. The Eastern Roman Empire, ruled from Nicomedia, included the rich provinces of Greece, Asia Minor, Egypt, and the Levant. These areas were vital for their wealth and cultural heritage. This division, although meant to make the empire stronger, would eventually lead to the Western and Eastern Roman worlds becoming very different. Over time, the two halves would develop distinct identities and paths. Diocletian didn't just divide the empire in two. He fundamentally restructured the way the Roman Empire was governed. He went even further and created the Tetrarchy, a system with 4 emperors, each with their own distinct responsibilities and territories. This new system was designed to make sure there was always someone ready to be emperor, and to stop the fights for power that had troubled the empire for so long. It was a bold move to ensure stability and continuity. Under the Tetrarchy, there were 2 senior emperors called Augusti, one for the west and one for the east. This division was meant to make governance more efficient. Each Augustus had a junior emperor called a Caesar to help him. These Caesars were not just assistants, but were being groomed to take over. These Caesars would share the work of governing, and would be ready to take over when the Augustus died or retired. This ensured a smooth transition of power. In 286 AD, Diocletian made Maximian, a trusted friend and soldier, the Augustus of the Western Roman Empire. This was a strategic choice to strengthen the Western Front. Diocletian himself became the Augustus of the East, ruling from Nicomedia. This city became the new administrative center of the Eastern Roman Empire. Galerius and Constantius were appointed as Caesars for the East and West, respectively. They were chosen for their loyalty and military prowess. The Tetrarchy seemed like a good idea. It was a well-thought-out plan to manage the vast Roman Empire more effectively. It provided a clear system for who would be emperor next, preventing the chaotic power struggles that had become so common. This clarity was crucial for maintaining order. It also allowed for a more spread-out government, with each emperor responsible for a smaller, more manageable area. This decentralization was key to effective governance. This made it easier to respond to emergencies and defend the empire. The Tetrarchy was a significant step towards a more resilient and adaptable Roman Empire. Diocletian knew the Roman Empire was huge, so he made big changes to how it was run. He divided it into 2 parts, East and West, each ruled by an Augustus and a Caesar. This system, called the Tetrarchy, was designed to make governing more efficient and local. Diocletian also reorganized the military and administrative divisions, creating smaller provinces to improve control and reduce the power of local governors. These changes were ambitious and set the stage for the Roman Empire eventually splitting into separate Eastern and Western empires. In the late 200s AD, the Roman army faced many challenges. Diocletian knew they needed a strong and organized military. He made big changes, restructuring the army to be more responsive and effective. He created a mobile field army and fortified the frontiers to help defend the vast empire against attacks. These changes were crucial for keeping the empire stable during those turbulent times. Diocletian was also worried about the Roman Empire's economy. To deal with inflation and stabilize the economy, he introduced a new money system and controlled the prices of goods and services. These measures aimed to stop the out-of-control inflation that had hurt the empire. Diocletian's policies also encouraged local production and trade, which helped the economy. However, these reforms also meant the government controlled the economy more, which had both good and bad effects on Roman society. Splitting the Roman Empire into East and West had a long-lasting impact. This strategic move made governing and defending the empire more efficient. The Eastern Roman Empire, later called the Byzantine Empire, thrived for centuries, preserving Roman culture and traditions. The Western Roman Empire, however, faced many problems and eventually collapsed. We can still see the effects of this division in the cultures and politics of Europe and the Mediterranean region today. Diocletian's reforms were a major turning point in Roman history. His attempts to stabilize the empire through military, economic, and administrative changes were very important for the future. Although not all of his reforms worked in the long run, they were a bold attempt to fix the empire's serious problems. Diocletian's legacy shows his vision and determination, and his actions influenced Roman history and shaped the future of the Western world. Join us for part 2 of the fall of the Roman Empire, which is coming very soon.